Good morning, social environment. This is Saturday, February the 6th, and I am here to assist you in clarifying some issues that came up over the week. Personally, I thought everything was going really well. I've read through your first couple papers, have started grading them. It takes a long time to grade hundreds. I mean, I literally have hundreds and hundreds of papers, almost 600 between my 7 classes. More like 800. But in any case, the first 2 exercises, what is the social environment and a letter to myself, those are really just exercises for you to start thinking a little bit outside the box, for you to consider new angles when you look at both your social placement within a social structure, within an institutional system. So it was really observational work. Is a systematic attempt for you to see the world around you so that you can see that social environment is always affecting the way in which we live. And the letter to myself really was just that. It was a way for you to envision what you want the next 20 years to look like, right? So it is really a goal-driven type of assignment where you can kind of take a look at yourself and figure out what it is you want to do moving forward. So that assignment really, those 2 assignments really were just thought-provoking type of assignments. Really, if you submitted, I mean, there's no way for me to grade a letter to yourself, right? I mean, it's going to get an A, simply because it's a much different type of assignment. It's really for you to take a look at 20, 30 years from now. Social environment really was just for you to get outside and take a walk and take a look at the world around you. Again, it's hard to give a grade on that kind of assignment. So really, the first assignment that you have that is really more hardcore is going to be the movie analysis, which is due tomorrow. And the movie is The Two Escobars, which is an ESPN special, 30 for 30, and it is fantastic. I have shown this for the last 3 years since I've been teaching social environment, and the students absolutely love this movie. Part of it is because we have such a Latin culture in Miami that taking a look at what happened in Colombia in the 1980s and the relationship it had to the United States, and in particularly Miami, is fascinating. So while you're watching it, you're watching a movie about a soccer player whose last name is Escobar, and you're watching it about a drug trafficker, a drug kingpin, Pablo Escobar. And you're really looking at how the social environment intertwines and has an impact on their lives in different ways, but in equally and strong ways. The movie's fantastic. Now, I really beg you not to get caught up and tied up in word count, right? I don't know where word counts came from. I don't know when they started to really become a part of the educational vernacular. I'm an old school student and professor, and what we were taught is you write to get the job done. Every single paper you write has a life of its own. It all depends on how you frame and structure your argument, right? I don't know what you're going to pick up in the movie in particular, but what I do know is that you're looking, at this point, and I'm looking at the tentative schedule right now. At this point, you have read chapter 1, 4, 7, 6, and this week 12 and 17. Those chapters that have to do with economic inequality, that have to do with structure, that have to do with power and political inequality, all of those things play together. So what you're doing is you're going to use that structure from how to write a great paper. Forget about word count, all right? If you follow the structure, the word count is going to take care of itself. The page length is going to take care of itself. So you please don't focus on such mechanical efforts to do a paper. Think in terms of reaching into your thinking, into your thoughts, and owning and controlling your own wisdom, all right? So when you take a look at this assignment, go back and watch the videos in one of the first 2 announcements, how to write a great paper. If you follow that structure, you're not going to have any problems. Here, pull out a piece of paper and let me give you my most basic fundamentals that I look for when you write, okay? Get a piece of paper. And here's what I look for. First of all, every paragraph should have 4 or 5 sentences. Not 3, not 7 or 8, 4 or 5. I like for my paragraphs to be real tight and to be real focused. One core idea and you build it. So it should have 4 or 5 sentences. Each sentence should have roughly 18 words, somewhere between 12 and 24, right? Because what I'm looking for, here's where people make their mistake. They lose focus and they jump all over the place. By forcing this structure upon you, what it's doing is it's forcing you to align your ideas so that you can go from your introduction all the way through to your conclusion. Now, I want specific headings for each section, and it's in that video, right? Introduction, and if you're really clever, give the introduction a title. You know, don't be afraid. Don't sit back. Oh, by the way, your cover page, please make an interesting title. Don't just say movie analysis. It bores me. It bores you. Do something clever that ties together the nature of your argument with a very clever title, and put that in there. Okay, and do that with everything you do. Do that with everything you do. All right. So then, excuse me. Then what I want you to do is I want you to write those section headings in bold. Introduction, right? It should be a solid paragraph, and you see how to do it. The last sentence of the first paragraph should be, this paper is, comma, therefore designed, comma, to analyze the relationship between something, an independent variable and a dependent variable. Economic inequality in Colombian ghettos and violent crime. That would be a perfect topic for something in the 2 Escobars. So you're looking at economic inequality is the independent variable that causes an outcome, which in this case would be violent crime. All right, and you can pick whatever. Right? There's some terminology you can use. Go look up Durkheim, Durkheim, the functionalist perspective, and look at the word, the division of labor. Right? Look at division of labor. Right? If you take a look at the division of labor, what that really is saying is that the way in which society sets up its labor force is going to have an impact on the way in which goods and services are distributed back into society. Right? The broader the division of labor, the more complicated the society is going to be. The less broad, the more functional it's going to be. Right? In this case, you can even talk about the international division of labor, which is where jobs and employment are distributed globally, right? So we're all interconnected through the labor force, division of labor, right? And that's Durkheim, right? And that's a functionalist perspective. At this point, I believe in one of the videos earlier, I had you look up, and I'll do it again, the conflict theory. I'm going to write it down. Conflict theory, all right? Functionalist theory, right? Modernization, or let's say world systems theory, which is the international division of labor and stuff. Modernization theory and dependency theory. Look those up, because one of those is going to be a great fit for your paper, right? So here's what you're doing. Introduction. This paper is therefore designed. Then you're going to give some background. If you want to talk about the impact of World Cup soccer, and you want to take a look at the social environment through sports, do that. That's fine. If you want to take a look at drug distribution in a global climate, fine, do that. If you want to talk about the rise and the fall of Pablo Escobar, fine. If you want to talk about the politics behind Pablo Escobar, cool. If you want to write about team chemistry, fine. If you want to write about corruption, cool. Just pick a topic that emerges in that movie. And then in the background, what you're going to do is you're going to talk about maybe the history of corruption in sports. Then you're going to talk about the current trends in sports. Then you'll talk about the trends that were taking place at that time. You might want to talk about economics and sport. You might want to talk about politics and sport. And then what you're doing is you're providing subsections within the background of those issues and those ideas, right? History, trends. Some of you who are more academic, you may even want to go in and do a literature review. Go into Google Scholar, right? Go into Google Scholar and look up the terms economic inequality and put down capital A, capital N, capital D in your search bar, and sports corruption. What's going to happen is everything written on that topic is going to emerge. and you can pick out the literature, and the literature is going to give you a little bit of the background on your topic, right? So you can even have that in the background. If you're talking about trends in homicide in Colombia or the United States, if you want to take a look at drug distribution in the United States or Colombia, what have you, that's fine, right? But just put it in the background. The next section, and there should be 2 or 3 paragraphs, right? Maybe 4, right? So if you do a paragraph for your introduction or 2, and then you write 2 or 3 background paragraphs, you're already at 5 paragraphs. That's 2 pages. Then you come up with a theory. Which theory do you think is the best for explaining this corruption, right? Or, it could be conflict theory or alienation. It could be the idea of anomie, which actually makes sense, right? How did Pablo Escobar get such a following with the rural population? It's because they had been displaced by a changing economic system that was brought about by the United States coffee producers. And those peasants who were displaced had to have somewhere to go. So when they were displaced and the economic system became broken, and people are sleeping in landfills, what do you have? You have what is called anomie. There's a breakdown in the norms. So when there's anomie and there's a massive breakdown, then what happens? People are going to adapt. Pablo Escobar saw this opportunity and said, you know what? I will go ahead and hire these people. I'll give them a job. I'll integrate them back into the labor force. And in doing so, what you have there is he's creating stability and equilibrium, which is why he has such a huge following. Write about it, right? And you're talking about anomie theory, or you're talking functionalism, and anomie is one of the core concepts in the functionalist enterprise. All right, so you can do something like that. After you do the theory, the hard part is a little data section. What's the statistics, right? What does the data show about that particular issue that you have chosen? And sometimes the data is going to be really hard, and I know it's hard, okay? It's not easy. So if you're doing something on corruption, dig around a little bit. Find something that supports the background and the theory as you move through the data, because the next section is your analysis section. This is where you say, based upon the data, anomie theory seems to work very well. Here's what it looks like. And then you analyze, using the theory, all the stuff that you did research on pertaining to that particular, pertaining to that topic from within that movie, right? And then, once you're done with your analysis, now look, now all of a sudden you've got 10 paragraphs, right? Now you've done an analysis. Now you draw a conclusion, 1 or 2 paragraphs, pulling it all together. What does all of it mean? What's the implications? What can you learn from it? And bang! You got 3, 4 pages right there. You don't have to worry about word count. Follow the process, follow the structure, and the paper will, in fact, write itself. Now, one caveat, I do not want you to say, I think, I believe, you should. Get rid of those pronouns. I, we, us, they, our. I don't even want to see them, all right? Because then you're using conversational language. I don't want conversation, all right? What I want is you to analyze. And it's going to be the same thing when you come up to March 21st, when you do the book analysis. Same kind of thing. All you're doing is looking at it's not data. Well, it is data. It's a case study. All you're doing is looking at the case study of the Escobars or Dear Mama or whatever book you choose, and you're analyzing it from a social environmental perspective. Introduction, background, theory, data, analysis, boom, conclusions. Easy, baby. It's easy, right? So those of you who are struggling, just go through the tentative schedule, right? For example, February 21st, there's an exam. You have no idea what's going to be in the exam, right? I know you're worried about it. Listen, the exam is going to be like everything else. I'm going to pose a question. It's going to be essay. You have unlimited time to do it. I'm going to probably submit it. I won't do it on Valentine's Day. That's kind of nasty. Maybe I'll do it on the 13th so you could think about it. And really all you're doing is taking stuff from the readings and you're going to apply it to something. Don't worry about it. Give it life, right? Most likely you're going to write something on the exam that's going to be 2, 3, 4 pages. There's nothing to worry about if you're following the process. Now, the project. I know some of you are itching to start the project, and you really can. What you're really doing, this is a project that is designed to have you consider how we fit into the International Division of Labor, right? So in this, it originally started with us doing an analysis of the iPhone, right? Now this is a, what do you call it, an Android, but you could do the same thing. And what I had the class do, and we can't do it here because it's remote. And by the way, I'm not a fan of remote. My problem is I had 2 strokes last year. So I'm not allowed to be in the live environment where I could catch the coronavirus, because if I catch it, I'm very compromised. I could perish. So I can't be in the classroom. And I know I see these comments on Rate My Professor. Let me tell you something. If you put me in a live situation, none of these issues would take place. But this is hard for all of us. It's hard for me. It's hard for you, because it's not set up in Blackboard. It's not like a virtual class. And on the other hand, when I did live streams, people were always confused. So I decided just to do the videos and then upload them into your class. And for me, it's really difficult not having the face-to-face interaction, or the interaction through through a chat room or what have you. And so I've had to go this way. What you're really doing is you're digging into yourself. You're taking a look at these different exercises, and this is where you get to explore. This is one of the best opportunities you will ever have to explore your brain. And don't wait for me to tell you what to do. Here are the assignments. They're all spelled out in the syllabus. They tell you basically what I'm looking for. Now the project is a little bit different, right? The project, what you're doing is you're taking an object, and what we did before is we took the iPhone, and in taking the iPhone, right, we broke it into parts. Where does the glass facing come from? All right, where do the little electrodes inside of it? Who made the ore? Who made the metal that's in it? Who made the plastic that's in it? Who designed it? Where did it come from? Where do the materials come from? All right. So what you're doing is you're breaking it down into parts. Now, when we did it in the live class, what we were really doing was we did all the pieces. And then the next semester, we moved from the iPhone, and some people did the guitar, some people did jeans, someone did Burt's Bees lip balm or something like that. So you can really, if you want to, really explore. You can take any kind of like object that is meaningful to you, and you just go ahead and analyze that object, right? You're just saying, where are the parts from? How does it connect to International Division of Labor? If, like the iPhone, for example, it has a huge impact on the Division of Labor in China, right? You have people who are committing suicide. So in this case, you can talk about power, you can talk about social inequality, you can talk about economics, and the economics behind that labor, all right? Now, and don't worry so much about getting it right, okay? You're not going to get it. There's no right or wrong. It is really pulling together, what do we learn from this object, right? What I used to do, back before they made quarters of all kinds of states, there used to be just one prototypical quarter. And at that time, I would have my students list, what does this quarter tell us about the culture in which we live? And we used to come up with about 76 different things, right? So all you're doing is analyzing an object that you have around you. It could be a phone, what have you, all right? Then you're just basically pulling together the 5 most important components of that object. For example, my daughters, because I'm a huge My Hero Academia fan, my daughter's got me this figurine of Stain. I could really break down, where did the plastic come from? Who made the box? Where's the molding made? And how does it tie people together? How many people does it take to make this object? That'd be fantastic, right? So you're really just looking at the 5 most important parts for that thing. So I'm looking at it, what are the most important parts of the object? Where were the parts manufactured, and who are the people that did the work, right? We're just looking at setting up a framework. Now the second part of it, which is going to be due, the first part of the project, that part is due March 7th, so you can think about it now. The book analysis is going to be due March 21st, and then your term paper is going to be due April 4th. And the term papers, pick any topic that is of interest to you. I don't care what the topic is. And all you're doing is you're using social environment, your textbook and stuff that we talk about in videos, and applying it to a great topic. The paper should be roughly 5 pages. Don't get all caught up in it. It shouldn't be shorter than 5 pages because you have a whole semester. And that's going to be due on April 4th. And then your final project is going to be a full analysis of that object. So how does the production of your object impact the people who made it? What about those who own the companies, right? In other words, are you doing a organizational explanation? Now you're digging deeply into this object as a part of the social environment, right? How are politics, families, economics shaped by your object. So here's the object in context, but then that object has an impact on others, right? Has an impact on the local politics. I mean, when Apple landed in China, well, I can't remember what city it's in, but it had a direct impact on the way in which people lived, correct? And then how did it impact the economics locally? For example, if you go to Brazil, when Brazil had the Olympics, right, they built this beautiful, amazing stadium in was it Rio or Buenos Aires, but it was right next to a profound ghetto, right? And what was the impact of putting that stadium right there? Did those people benefit or did they not? Even though we're not going to do an object the size of a stadium, but you see what I'm saying, is that what impact does that object have on the local environment? And then all you're going to do is use a theory to explain those circumstances. And really that's it. And I see here you will write a one-page reflection paper on your final exam. It's not on the syllabus. I'm not sure I'm even going to do that. So you have already done the two, which were just thought exercises. Tomorrow you have the two Escobars. I am willing to let you submit that on February 14th. Since there was confusion, I'll give you an extra week to do it. I'm not one of these dudes who's really brutal. If you ever had a professor who's on the student side, I'm the one. I mean, my whole historical career, I've been teaching for 34 years. And prior to teaching remotely, I was a 5-star professor, and I always have been. I've won 7 teaching awards. I won the #1 award at Ohio State, #1 award at University of Louisville. I was ranked #2 in the nation for the McDonald's Diversity Award. And so, I mean, I know what I'm doing, but this environment isn't conducive to my style, and I'm doing the best I can. But all you're doing is really digging in and thinking. So if we look at the tentative schedule, you can go right through it. Right? It says tentative schedule the week of January 4th, and we're already to the week of February 1st. And you'll see under Hunt and Calendar chapter, 12 and 17 should be read. And then you have the movie. Next week it's chapter 8, and then chapter 13, right? Don't fret, don't sweat, don't worry. Just do your best. You follow the structure, right? You follow the structure, and everyone, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I'm not a punisher. I'm behind in grading. I fall behind this. You know, I've graded, as I said earlier in the semester, I have graded over 1 million pages of papers. But I don't like multiple choice because I don't find them to be a very, very fair representation of what you know and what you think and what you've learned. What they are is what I think is important, and you're trying to figure out what I think is important, right? So I'm not into that. I'm much more into you thinking on your own, for you to take control, for you to have fun. Have fun. Pick topics that you find interesting. And don't worry so much about grades because you're going to do fine. Submit the work, and I will grade it fairly. And you can be guaranteed that if you do it and you follow that structure, how to write a great paper, you're going to get an A or a B, right? If you give me, slop, well, I'm going to grade it as slop. But so far, I haven't received any slop whatsoever. So, don't sweat it too much. Everybody, I do care for you, and I do want you all to be successful. That has been the cornerstone of my whole entire career. Now, my philosophy is nobody can teach you except yourself, right? I've always had that philosophy going all the way back to 1984 when I started college. I learned it from a professor. You're the one that has to pick up the book. You're the one that has to do the work. You're the one that has to think it through. Even if I give you information, you still got to work with it. So basically, I'm just providing you with a structure and some tidbits and hints for you to do well, and you're going to do well. Don't worry so much, okay? That's about all I have. Oh, last thing. For now on, I want you to contact me through my personal phone because my other phone whacked out and I don't have access to it anymore. Here's my phone, all right? You may text me first, all right? You can text me there. And I'll get back to you. And then if we need to talk because you have confusion, that's perfectly fine. We'll talk by the phone. And please send all email conversations to Sean at hopeworks at gmail.com. All right. Now I'm swamped with work. You can't tell it because I'm remote, but I'm putting in about 80 hours a week now. with all the things that I do, not including the book that I'm writing. So when you take a look at all that, I am absolutely doing the absolute best I can, even though you may not think so. But here's a phone number. Text me there. I do respond to texts every day. And then you can send me an email, and I'll get back to you by the next day on the emails. And you can start seeing your grades come in. But right now, if you submitted the first 2 papers, you're going to get 2 A's, okay? Relax. Relax. And then the rest of them, just have fun. I mean, this is exploration. And with that, I just want to tell you all thanks for watching. And you all have a great semester. And I'll post a video next week. Have a great week.